Greetings, Magic players. This is Steve from Untapped Games. Today we're opening a 2015 core set 2-player Clash Pack. Now this is a new type of product. Basically this set and every other set after it is going to have, from what I understand, one of these Clash Packs in place of the normal event deck. So there's no event deck for 2015 core set, but there will be for Khans of Tarkir, which is the next set after this. That's coming out in September. And then after that, we'll be getting another Clash Pack. So what is a Clash Pack? Well, it's 2 decks. Let's just read the back of it. It says, Fate and Fury combined for the ultimate weapon, specially created for players who want to up their game and play on the next level. This Clash Pack contains 2 decks ready for you to crack open and battle with a friend. Then take your favorite cards and combine them into a single deck capable of laying down some serious damage at Friday Night Magic. The Clash Pack includes 6 premium cards, 3 per deck, with alternative art not available elsewhere, as well as a deck box big enough for both decks. And the contents are going to be 2 ready-to-play 60-card decks, 6 premium cards with alternative art, a deck box, strategy insert, and Magic Rules reference card. So basically what I see this as being meant to do is it kind of straddles the line between being a dual deck, something that you could just pop into a store and say, me and my friend heard of this game and we want to play, and the second thing that you could do with it is you could show up for a Friday Night Magic tournament and say, I don't have a deck, is that okay? And then somebody can say, well, absolutely, there's enough cards in this to make your own deck that might be, you know, comparable to Friday Night Magic. I mean, comparable to an event deck, theoretically. I don't know how it would compare against all event decks, but we'll get this at the bottom. Alright, so here's my deck box. It's just got a dual Planeswalker symbol on it and M15 graphic design. I have this rules reference card that's looking like it's just coming in everything nowadays. It's just like a how to play card. And, a card divider. Probably for dividing the decks within the pack. And then I have this, which is just an insert that has the deck lists on it, and don't do what I just did. I kind of like opened that too quickly and dented it. But it's got the deck lists right here, and how to play. Playing the Fate deck, playing the Fury deck. I don't know off the top of my head what's in these, so it's going to be a surprise to me. Alright, so they look like they're both... Okay, so one is green-red, and then the other is blue-green, it looks. So let's find out which one this is. The thing I think I'm probably most interested in these decks is the alternative art cards, because those are something that you can't get in another product. So it's not like an intro pack where it's just like, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to get, and I can get these things just by buying singles. But these are basically promo cards. They have the promo symbol and everything, and they have alternative art. So I have a Hydra Broodmaster. That's a good card. It's a monstrosity card from Theros block. 7/7, and it comes out for 6. So its monstrous is XX green, monstrosity X, which means that, you know, for instance, if you paid 6 green mana and 6 mana of any color and a green, then you get monstrosity 3 and put 3 +1/+1 counters on him. When Hydra Brewmaster becomes monstrous, put XXX green Hydra creature tokens onto the battlefield. So now you're getting even more value when you're pumping this guy for monstrous. It's expensive, and usually you want a lot of ramp to do it, but you can get tons of threats out on the board that way. And, you know, it's sort of a as much as you can do kind of a situation. Fauna Fertility is good. It's a 1-cost common enchantment For 1 and a green, sacrifice Font of Fertility, search your library for a basic land card, put it into the battlefield, tapped, and shuffle your library. So it's just basically speeds your land, accelerates your mana base there. This is good because it thins your deck, and it can come out pretty early. Fated Intervention. This is one of the faded cards. 2 and 3 green for an instant that reads, put 2 3/3 green centaur enchantment creature tokens onto the battlefield. If it's your turn, scry 2. So far I'm seeing a lot of cards that have a need for acceleration. I've only 3 cards in. Either a need for acceleration or acceleration so far. This is a sort of an expensive card, but it's populating the battlefield. So board control and a ramp is what I'm going for so far. Courser of Crufix. This is a great card. 1 and 2 green for an enchantment creature centaur that reads, play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play the top card of your library if it's a land card. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. And you have 2, it's a 2/4. Obviously this goes along with the paradigm of, getting as many lands and accelerating so that you can play your big threats. It's a very green thing to do. And that's a great card, so it's in this deck. Arbor Colossus is another good card. 2 and 3 green for a giant with reach, and it's 6/6, and its monstrosity ability is for 3 and 3 green. It's monstrosity 3, so it'll become a 9/9. And when Arbor Colossus becomes monstrous, destroy target creature with flying and opponent controls. So covers up, achieves a dual purpose. Huge green creature, and shore up one of green's weaknesses, which is fighting against flying creatures. Genesis Hydra is X and 2 green for a plant Hydra that reads, when you cast Genesis Hydra, reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put a non-land permanent card with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest of your library. Genesis Hydra enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters. This was an M15 card, obviously. I covered this in another video, but this is nice, and it actually utilizes the ramp of this deck while simultaneously replacing. It'll go through your deck faster, because hopefully the hope with ramp is that you are going to be playing stuff right out of your hand really quickly, and just getting stuff out onto the battlefield and having enough mana to do that. And with Genesis Hydra, you're able to pull not 1 but 2 cards, hopefully, out of your deck for that. So it keeps up your momentum. And this, speaking of ramp, Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, legendary land, tapped, add 1 to your mana pool. 2 untap, choose a color. Add to your mana pool an amount of mana of that color equal to your devotion to that color. Your devotion to a color is equal to the number of mana symbols, blah, blah, blah. We know what devotion is. It's an awesome card, and you get one of them in this deck. As you can see, we have a lot of green with multiple mana symbols here, so that's a no-brainer. Elvish Mystics, 4 of them, again going with the ramp theme. Generator Servants, more ramp and haste. So a Generator Servant is a 1 and a red for an elemental that reads, tap, sacrifice Generator Servant, add 2 to your mana pool. If the mana is spent on a creature spell, it gains haste until end of turn. It's amazing. It makes your whole deck so much faster when you can play something 2 turns earlier than you'd normally be able to play it. Voyaging Satyrs, more ramp. Neshin Courser, that's kind of, I'm assuming, a placeholder for a better card. Not all of them can be good, but it's just a 3/3 for 3. 2 Reclamation Sages, these are good. When Reclamation Sage enters the battlefield, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment, and it's a 2/1 for 3. So this is removal, and pretty good removal at that, because it comes with a body. Ill-Tempered Cyclops, 3 and a red for a trample, 3/3, with 5 and a red, monstrosity 3. That's a pretty basic monstrosity as far as monstrosity goes, but it comes with trample. So that's nice. You get to utilize all of that, those counters. So I'm actually going to start separating by color here since I can. Karametra's Acolyte, more ramp. Nylea's Disciple. This is life gain, which is interesting. When it enters the battlefield, gain life equal to your devotion to green. I could see this being good against red decks because you are able to erase their progress if they're doing burn to your face, and getting through with quick creatures in the early game. You can recover from that around turn 4 with a 3/3 creature that just pumps you back up. So you can ignore some of their incoming guys knowing that that's in your deck. Neshin Game Warder, 3 and 2 green for a beast that reads, when Neshin Game Warden enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of forests you control. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So this is sort of along the same lines as the that Genesis Hydra, except it's a 4/5, just a 4/5. It is a 4/5, so it's a hefty guy, and he costs 5 mana. That's not terrible, but then the effect is basically determined by the number of forests that you have in play, and we already know from things like what was the card that we had? Courser of Crufix. If we have more cards like that in here, then we can be getting those forests out and play even quicker, and have lots of them for when we pave the way for Neshin Game Warden. So that's good. Nemesis of Mortals. I have 2 of these for 4 and 2 green. I have a 5/5 Snake. Nemesis of Mortals costs 1 less to cast for each creature card in your graveyard. So for 7 and 2 green, it's Monstrosity 5. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each creature card in your graveyard. In this particular deck, because we're not playing black and we don't have a lot of things that just dump things into the graveyard, even the things that go through our deck aren't putting them into the graveyard, they're shuffling them back in, or putting them on the bottom in the case of Neshin Game Warden. Because of that, I see this as intended as more of like a comeback card. If they wipe your field, then you can get your Nemesis of Mortals back out quicker. But it's also just a large creature. At 6 for a 5/5 that can go monstrosity, and assuming that you have at least 1 creature card into your graveyard, it's not a terrible deal, but it can be an excellent deal if you're using it as a comeback card. Now I have a bunch of mountains, a bunch of forests. We'll trust Wizards that they got the that they counted those in a way that would give you a good mana base, given the heavy green portion of this deck and the light red portion. And then I have 2 lightning strikes, which are more for removal, I think. Pesky problems. This doesn't really seem like a deck that would try to necessarily get the person down to 3 and then lightning strike. Like, that's not really the strategy here. The lightning strikes aren't for direct burn, they're for getting rid of pesky creatures and walls that, once you block with the wall, then you can finish it off with once they block with their wall, you can finish it off with your lightning strike. And then of course plummets, which are vital because this deck has very little in the way of dealing with evasion, so that deals with flyers. And then along the same line as lightning strike is boulder fall for getting rid of pesky threats. So for 6 and 2 green, 6 and 2 red, you get an instant that deals 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or players. So that's this deck. Big creatures, trying to get them out as quickly as possible, and trying to pop things out of the sky and clear the way so that our huge tramplers can take them down. Basic beater deck. And then I have this deck, which is just tough to get open. And this one's going to be green-blue. So I have a foil alternate art Prognostic Sphinx. That's pretty cool alternate art. Although I personally enjoy Steve Prescott's original art, but this is also great. So it's 3 and 2 blue for a Sphinx. That's the 3/5. It reads, it's flying. Discard a card. Prognostic Sphinx gains hexproof until end of turn. Tap it. Whenever Prognostic Sphinx attacks, scry 3. This card is really cool. I liked this card, especially in limited, but I think he's also he's just a good all-around creature because he's got great evasion, and he speeds your deck up. He helps you get to the things you need. So in any sort of deck that contains control, he can make sure that you're lining up and getting the control that's right for the situation at hand, because he'll attack and it's difficult to destroy him unless the enemy sort of uses tricks, and so it's good. Prophet of Krufix, 3 a green and a blue for a human wizard. That's a 2/3. It reads, untap all creatures and lands you control during each other player's untap step. You may cast creature cards as though they had flash. Those are 2 awesome abilities to be on one card. Untapping all creatures and lands you control ensures that well, this will sound redundant, but all the creatures and lands you have lets you control them better, because it means that you can play your threats and simultaneously, so you can play your big green guys, and then your blue half of your deck is working like control, which it's important to have, a lot of untapped land to control effectively. And you can play those creature cards as though they had flash. So you can be playing creature cards on your turn and on their turn. And, like if they didn't do anything that warranted control, great card. And this one's a special promo version of it. Temple of Mystery. That's a Temple of Mystery enters the battlefield tapped. So it's a scry land. It's green and blue. It's good for this deck because, again, just like Prognostic Sphinx, we want cards that are going to enable us to get the right answers. Hypnotic Siren is a 1 blue 1/1 siren. It has Bestow for 5 and 2 blue, so I can play it as an enchantment. It has Flying. You control enchanted creature. An enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has Flying. This is a weird odd man out of most of the enchantment creatures, or the Bestow creatures, because usually it has like some sort of ability that it has an ability and then a power and a toughness, right? But this has an extra ability that pops onto a creature if it's not your creature. So you control enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has Flying. So you can just sort of yank people's creatures out from under them for 7 mana. And then if they destroy, if that creature gets destroyed, you still have a 1/1 flyer. Aether Spouts, 3 and 2 blue for an instant. For each attacking creature, its owner puts it on the top of his or her top or bottom of his or her library. Great control. We're going to be looking for that if they fill up the board, and hopefully just blow out with that. Curse of the Swine, X and 2 blue, sorcery. Exile X target creatures. For each creature exiled in this way, its controller puts a 2/2 green boar creature token onto the battlefield. So good card for dealing with large threats, turning them into 2/2s, or dealing with complex, creatures that are assembling like combos and things like that. Creatures that work really well together, instead of working really well together with their abilities, now they're just 2/2 boars. Two Leaf Crown Dryads. These are bestow creatures that confer 2/2/2 and reach, and it's also a 2/2 creature with reach. So that's good. Omen Speakers. More scry. When they enter the battlefield, scry 2. It's a 1/3 for 2. Vaporkin. Creatures with evasion. Vaporkin is great because it comes out so early, and blue doesn't get a whole lot of creatures that, well, I mean, by now it gets a lot of creatures, but part of blue is a build up to something big and weak creatures otherwise. Like, for instance, if you're playing Hypnotic Siren on turn 1, yeah, sure, you have a 1/1 flyer, but you know, usually you're going to want to be using that for the control-y removal aspect of it. With Vaporkin, it's a 2/2 flyer on turn 2, and that can do some serious damage if left unchecked. 3 Kiora's Followers. I should also mention, I guess, the Vaporkin can't block, can only block creatures with flying, but that's okay. You don't want to block with them. You want to be swinging with them and only sacrifice them if there's a large evasion creature coming in play. Well, flying specifically. Kiora's Follower, green and a blue, untapped target permanent. When you tap this, it's a merfolk, it's 2/2. This can play dual abilities, it's both ramp, and it can ensure that you have either a blocker in Kiora's Follower, or you have an extra land ready, or, you know, because it's untapped target permanent, there's tons of stuff you can do. I mean, you can use it with, I don't know if there's any artifacts in here, but you can use it with tap abilities on other creatures, and so it's not just for land or ramp. I got 2 Frost Lynxes from M15, 2 in a blue for an elemental cat. It's 2/2. When it comes into play, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So it's both control for their creatures, and it's also a body. I have 2 Nimbus Naiads, 2 in a blue for a nymph. That's 2/2. It has bestow for 4 in a blue, and it's flying. If you bestow it, enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has flying. That's pretty standard. Organize this a little bit better. I have Thassa's Emissaries, 3 in a blue for an enchantment creature crab. It's 3/3. Bestow for 5 in a blue. Whenever Thassa's Emissary or enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3. It'd be interesting to see, because I've got a lot of bestow creatures. It'd be interesting to see if I had anything that interacted with that. Horizon Chimera for 2 in a blue. 2 a blue and a green. I get a Chimera that has flash, flying, trample. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 1 life. That's a good card. It has a lot of value, and it's a 3/2. The nice thing about this deck is it looks like I'm just going to be playing a lot of my creatures on my enemy's turn. So the board will look relatively clear when I pass go to them, and then, you know, assuming I do nothing, or assuming that they do nothing that I particularly don't want them to do, I can then just flash in creatures and things like that. Horizon Scholar, 5 in a blue for a flying 4/4. When Horizon Scholar enters the battlefield, scry 2. So I'm looking for the pieces that I need. Here are some forests. Here are some islands. And now for the control. I've got 2 negates. Those speak for themselves. Counter target non-creature spell for 2. 2 pin to the earths. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets -6, -0. So that's more control. A Voyage's End. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Scry 1 for 1 in a blue. More control. Divination. I can draw cards. That combos well with the Horizon Chimera, because then I can come back with cards and life if I'm a little behind. 2 Griptides, great cards. Put target creature on the top of its owner's library for 3 in a blue. And Jace's Ingenuity 3 and 2 blue to draw 3 cards. So with things like Prophet of Kruphix, I mean, really, I see that as a card you want to get out in this deck as soon as you possibly can, because that allows you to be playing as much stuff out of your hand as possible, and then you replace those cards with your card draw cards, and it's an interesting deck because it's what you would expect blue and green to be, on account of blue being control-y and then green having playing threats. Having said that, there's not a whole lot of simply green cards in this deck, so I could see possibly getting some of, if you're going to be doing this, taking some of the green cards from this deck, the stronger green cards, like Corsair of Kruphix and like Hydra Broodmaster, maybe taking some of the pump from this deck and combining that with the blue from this deck, and utilizing some of these blue-green cards. At least I'm pretty sure that that's what they intend. So if you are building this into like the event deck version of this deck, you're probably taking green from the Fury and blue and green from the Fate, and mishmashing them together, probably becoming a little less control-y and becoming a little bit more rampy, like these blue-green cards want you to be. All right, so at this point, so this is an awesome deck. You can find this on untappedgames.com. I should say it's 2 decks, so check that product out. I'll leave a link in the description. But I also want to talk to you guys about our contest. So we have a contest going on Facebook and on YouTube this month. Last month we gave out an M15 booster box to 2 lucky people, and we're doing the same this month, but it's going to work a little bit different. So the first half of the booster box of M15 that we're going to be giving out is going to be based on social media interaction. So if you're somebody that engages with us, you'll have a better chance of getting this. And so basically, if you leave a like, if you leave a comment on, if you leave a like on Facebook, if you leave a share on Facebook, and the post will be linked in the description. If you share this video, or if you leave a comment in this video, each time you do that, you'll be entered for this contest. So that's a maximum of 4 entries, and then we'll randomly choose one person from all those social media. So again, that's a like on Facebook, a share on Facebook, a share on this video, or a comment on this video, and we'll contact you through either Facebook or YouTube, depending, and we'll get your information from you so that we can send you half a booster box of M15. The second bit is going to be based on a comment on the Facebook question. So you go to facebook.com/untappedgames, find our August contest question, and tell us who got you into card games. So this is open to anybody who plays card games, probably most of you. And just as a for instance, I first got into Magic in 7th grade, and I was the new kid, and pretty much there was like a cadre of kids at my lunch table who played Magic, and I didn't know what it was, but I liked fantasy stuff. And one of them, his name was Jack, put together a deck for me, and it was like, really basic blue deck. It was like Phantom Monster, Phantasmal Forces, some air elementals, and a bunch of control. And that was my first deck, and he just gave it to me for free, and it was really nice of him. So it was good because I didn't know anybody, and that was a way that I could get to know people. Having said that, I sucked, and I would continue to be bad at the game for a while, but then I eventually got the hang of it. So give us your story, put it on the Facebook question, and we're going to choose the one that we like the most, and we're going to give that person the second half of the M15 booster box. So I hope that's not all too complicated. The contest is going to end at the end of August, so midnight, September 1st is when we're going to do the cutoff for that. So be sure to check that out, and you know, you can win 18 packs that way without any money. It's just free to enter. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate everybody who watches and leaves comments and likes and all that. And you know, take care. Remember to untap before you draw, and I'll see you guys in the next one.